Okay. So we're on Mem Zayin and Beis. It's going. We're discussing the halacha of whether or not how we paskin kind of shvisa, not kind of shvisa by a guy. So how do you, Rava, allow the rams to be taken back to the to Mechuzah when the halacha seems to be like Rabbi Yochanan, who says that chavsei nachri kind of shvisa because of Gzeira. So we're 3 lines from the bottom. Sorry, we skipped some lines there because the machine wasn't working. So Hadam Rava lizdavnu lebnei mvarchusa. So Rava changed his mind and said, "You got me. Let us only allow these rams to be sold to the people of Mvarchusa. The kulei Mvarchusa do kadal rams damya." So just like Rabbi Gamliel held, where earlier we spoke about a person being taken into a city and being taken outside the Tchum, once he's in that city, he's got the entire city. Okay, so we're going to have that same approach here. So the rams could be taken throughout the city of Mvarchusa. They cannot be taken to Mechuzah. That because we follow Rabbi Yochanan, but the leniency of Rabbi Gamliel to allow the entire city to be considered like Dalan Amis, that we will allow, so the people of Mvarchusa could indeed use these rams. But okay, so second time in a few weeks that the rams got slaughtered. Okay, yeah, what?
How do they buy it?
Oh, okay. Well, okay. A good question. Let's see Rashi first. Let's see if he talks about it. Where are we here? Dichri. Okay. Well, that we're not focused. That's not what our focus is on right now. But let's see. Dichri or Elim, the rams. B'varchusa Sheimakom, name of a city. Mechuzah ir asmuchlam varchusa. But told al payim. Okay, so clearly Rashi is answering that technical issue of Mechuzah to Mvarchusa. How'd they get here? They got here because they were within 4,000 amis, which is what's necessary to extend your tchum in this direction to allow you to get to Mvarchusa. And they made an eruv from one to the other to allow them to get in. So Lemizvah Minayu.
Well, who made the eruv? The Jews made the eruv for the Goyim?
No, but the Goyim don't.
Made an eruv.
Well, how did the people of Mechuzah get to Mvarchusa that they can see the rams to take them back to Mechuzah? So Rashi saying they made an eruv. The Jews, yeah, the Goyim don't need an eruv. They made an eruv to be able to travel to that town to be there on Yontif. Okay. Okay. Now, I mean, I might say, okay. Let's just finish the Rashi. Lemizvan minayu. So he allowed them to buy the rams, vaysinul mechuzah, and to bring them back all the way to mechuzah, thinking that the animals are subjugated to the guidelines of the Jew who bought them, and that would make sense if you're a Shmuel man. That makes a lot of sense because there is no eruv for the rams right now. Even though the Goyim brought them from outside the Tchum, so aren't they limited minimally to at least the city of Mvarchusa? The Gasavar, no, he holds items belonging to a guy, just like items belonging to a hefker, not kind of shvisa. Item belonging to a guy, not kind of shvisa. To which Rava said, you got me on that one, so let's change up Psak Halacha. I'm only going to allow the people of Varchusa because we're going to give them all Dalar Amis. Ka'arba Amis Damya, Kritam Asisan Holy Chuli or Acheres, Onasnu Badir Visar. Okay, if you put him, they take him to another city, you put him in a corral, Paskinul Elam Rav, Alach Rabbi Gamliel. And Rav said, we follow Rabbi Gamliel, Badir Visar, Usfina. Wadin Li'ir Sheish B'lo Mechitza. So, whatever the lach is by a boat and by a corral, same halach would be to a walled city that it's all considered one big Dalan Amis and it's all good. Okay, and so I don't think they. I mean, we mentioned before that for the sake of mitzvah, you need something. There are ways of getting around these business problems, and for the sake of a mitzvah, you can engage in some monetary activities without obviously paying the money, but just to be able to say, I'll pay you later and things like that. So The money did not seem to be a big issue here. It could be they needed the meat covered yontif, so apparently wasn't a problem. Okay.
If you're going to go through the whole thing of setting up your Eruv to get that far, to get it on Yontif, like you shouldn't just try to get it before Yontif, so you're not buying it.
Well, I mean, I guess they couldn't. I mean, I guess you're right. There are halachas that whatever if you could have done it before, you should have done it before. But I guess in these cases, they couldn't have done it.
But the assumption here is you're going to use this goat for something on Yontif, whether it be for milk or meat.
Yeah, that's the assumption. Yeah, it's again like it's not really spoken about for some reason. It's not.
You have to, right? I mean, otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, you can't engage in business transactions without purposeful reason of dvar mitzvah. So you have to come up with some svara. But it's interesting that they don't seem to be concerned about it.
It's obvious.
What?
It's obvious.
Yeah, okay.
Just for us, it's not. It's obvious.
Okay. Okay. What's? Yeah. Okay. No, they don't seem to say anything. Okay. Fine. Let's proceed. Bottom of the page, last line, essentially. Okay. Tani Rav Chia. Rav Chia learned in the Bryce as follows: Chayrim shebein tchumei Shabbos tzorach mechitza shabarzel afsiko. Okay, interesting brisa that Rav Chia quotes. Normally Rav Chia is very authoritative. They say Rav Chia and Rav Osha were the two people who quoted very authoritative brises. This one's going to be a little controversial. So it's a net that's between two tchum Shabbos, and this netting is a fish netter apparently that literally is partitioned between a body of water, that the midpoint of the body of water is the end of 2,000 amos of one city and the end of 2,000 amos of another city. So they mamish both end right next to each other, but there's clearly one cannot cross over to the other. So how do you take water on Yontif from this particular area of water? And the answer is you make an iron curtain, an iron wall. Okay, and that will allow you to take the water. Let's take a look at Rashi. Chayrim. Okay, up in the narrow, wide lines, last 4 or 5 of the narrow lines. Chayrim, mitzudas dogim. It's a fish net. Umafsik b'mayim bein beis tchum, and it separates in the water between two tchumin shal beis ayars of two cities. V'chibru mitzudim, v'charamim. Okay, and this trap or netting, whatever, it connects the water, I guess, or overlaps it, so it doesn't really connect them because you can't carry from one to the other. That's the whole problem. If I take water from the other side of the tchum, then I'm taking water that when Shabbos hit or Yontif hit was not able to be accessed. So now it comes over to my side, and now if I want to take it now, I'm going to have a problem. So the only way to do it is before Yontif, you have to have this metal separation to allow the water on that side to be seen as that city's water, and the water on this side to be seen as this city's water. Okay, uksiv. Well, let's see. That's going to be a little controversial. What's up is metal. What?
Is there no pictures of this one?
Okay. Al kein yizbach lecharmoi v'geder shalkanim hu. Okay. 1 second. Shalbezer v'chibru mitzudim v'charam uksiv al kein yizbach lecharmoi v'geder shalkanim hu. It's a fence of kanim. So I guess the fish netting was made out of reeds, apparently. So that I guess in other words, without the metal wall, what they had there anyway was some kind of the trapping was made out of reeds, which I guess was a type of wall, but clearly with a lot of space in between. So that typical trapping and netting that was there is not good enough. Tzorchlan, next Rashi, Tzorchlan says mechitza shel barzel. Okay, you need to make a metal fence. Shelo yavru mayim shel tchum zeh l'toch tchum zeh. You can't have an overlap of the water from here to there. The kol mash b'toch tchum me'ir ain't kind of shvisim kaimai. Because anything that's within the border of the city, you're not kind of shvis in its place. The Komash B'Toch Tchum Me'ir ain't Kodesh Shvisam Kaim Eliyasam Kama Alpayim Amma L'Churach. We don't hold, if it's within the city limits, we don't hold that the water has its own identity as its own tchum, and now you can take it from 2,000 amas wherever it is, because if that was the case, then you'd have no problem. You just take it a few feet, and you're good to go. And you can take the water from any side if the water itself had its own identity and was kind of its own tchum. All right, then there wouldn't be an issue. But that's not the case. The case is, Rashi says, we hold that the water is subservient to the town. And being subservient to the town, whatever the town's tchum is what this water's tchum is, and it's limited by the town. So this was literally the 2,000 amas outside of the city limits. It ended right in the middle of that pond or that lake, whatever. Okay, vimhu b'seifat tchum en yochol lozus misham v'lochutz ulachutz. Okay, and if it ends literally at that area. Again, one more time, Elabasa Ir Gari goes after the city. Vimhu b'sofa tchum, and if he's at the very end of that tchum of that city, ein yochol lozes misham v'lochutz ulachutz. You can't go anywhere more from there and outside. Ve'ein b'nei tchum ze yochol lamalois b'toch tchum atzmoi. And even if you're in the tchum, you still can't take the water from your side of the lake, because we are concerned that water from the other side of this area was there before Shabbos on the other side, moved over this side after Yontif hit, and now you're taking water that you had no access to. So the mixture and the movement, very small, slow movement of one area to the other, creates problems that you can't take any water. From anywhere.
Not just close to the...
Well, right, closest
even closest to the shore on your side.
Correct, exactly. Right, for sure you can't go on the other side to take, because that's outside the tchum. But even if you're technically inside your tchum, but you can't take something that when Yontif or Shabbos hit was on the other side of the tchum that was brought here, because since its tchum is limited to the city, where you are is outside of that counter city's tchum. It's stuck. It's stuck right there. It can't be taken anywhere. It only has dollar amas. So that was what, let's see. Inema, this is on Amid, that belongs to the next Amid. So let's continue the Gemara. So this was the brisa that Reb Chia quoted. So you need an iron curtain to be able to make things happen. So Mechayich Alei Reb Yosi Bar Chanina. So not too common that this happens, but we've had similar cases where Reb Yosi Bar Chanina sort of just was, had that sort of wry smile on and said, what are you talking about? Okay, so he made a little bit of fun, or at least he showed a disdain and a lack of acceptance of this brisa. Okay, so the question is why? Like, what didn't he like about the brisa? So he says, my time will come mechayach. Like, what's the reason for the cynicism over here? What are you making this face that you don't buy what I just said, and you don't seem to accept the authenticity of the brisa? What's the issue? If you're going to tell me that because this is pasking like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri l'chumra, that it's kind of shvisa, that there is, because this water belongs to anybody, it belongs to nobody, it's hefker. And we had this issue, but what's the status of hefker dikamayim? Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is the one who said it is kind of shvisa. That's why the guy sleeping has 2,000 amas, right? It was a chumra on one side, it was a kul on the other side. But right now, in our case, it's a chumra, and you're going to tell me what? Because the brisa learns like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, you feel like Rabbanon l'kula, but you feel that the halach is like Rabbanon l'kula, and that's why you made this little, you're putting it down. Mishum nesava l'kula. What? So because you happen to hold l'kula mandatani l'chumra mechaychala? Is that a reason to make fun and to make a joke about it and to put down the Mishnah, the Brisa rather? I mean, that doesn't make sense. It's a legitimate opinion. So just because you happen to be a cooler man doesn't mean that a Chumra Brisa is not an authoritative Brisa. So that's not a reason to knock the Brisa. He says, Ella must be Mishum Detanya, because the Brisa says, right? Remember we said that we had this fairly recently, Mem Vav actually, Mem Vav and Aleph, we had it, that if you have these springs and like rivers, whatever, the different rivers and springs that are drawn and that overflow and that are constantly moving and gushing, okay, Harein Karali Koladam, they don't ever establish a set place. So since they're in motion, we said things are in motion, when Shabbos or Yom Tov hits, cannot be Koine Shvisa. So I'm laughing because this is water, this is in motion, and how in the world can you tell me that I'm limited by that I need a metal thing to separate? I shouldn't, because based on the famous rule, and this is a brisa that seems to be very accepted, that you can't be kind of shvisa for items that are in motion on when Shabbos hits. That's a reason, and that's why you sort of don't like this brisa and had that smile on your face. Maybe who says this was a raging waters over here? This was a nice, calm little lake. Okay, yes, so water moves a little bit, but that's not the kind of water we're talking about. That can't be kind of shvisa. The water we're talking about is rivers and brooks and streams. That there's a real flow. But stuff that's all gathered as like a lake, right? And so we have a bunch of lakes up there. What's
Lake Tahoe?
No, well, Lake Tahoe. That's much. I'm doing one right up here on the 5.
Right,
Castaic and those kind of lakes.
That doesn't move at all.
Right, it just sits there. So, so of course there's some motion, but it's not a lot of motion. So it's all gathered up. What's the big deal? El Mishim Nitani, but so it can't be. That can't be a reason why you're putting down the brisa because of the fact that it's kind of shvisa when moving waters are not kind of shvisa, because maybe it's not moving waters. Maybe it's all gathered, in which case it's a perfectly legit brisa. So what's the deal? What don't you like about it? El Mishum Diktani must be what you didn't like about it was El Mishum Diktani Tzarech Mechitza Shel Brazil Lavsiko, that you need a metal wall to separate portion A from portion B and divide the body of water into two. Well, I don't understand how that's going to accomplish anything. I'm sorry. Why don't you like reeds? Like, what's up with this metal thing? You don't like reeds because the reeds are going to let water in, right? So you're going to have water flowing either above the reeds, between the reeds, under the reeds. You're going to have water moving from one side to the other, so the reeds are not good enough to separate the water. Right? They didn't have Midtown Tunnel technology yet. Okay, if you're going to put a metal thing, you're not going to make it airtight and absolute foolproof that water can't go over and under. It's going to get in. So what are you accomplishing any more with the metal than you are with the reeds? Okay, it doesn't make sense. That should be enough, good enough for what you're looking for. If reeds are not good enough, I don't see how metal is good enough. Okay, Mora says, I hear you. It's a very good point, but even that, there's a way to read the brisa that would legitimize that point, and that is v'dilma tzarach ve'en le'takana kamar. Maybe what the brisa is saying is you need a metal wall, but you can't, which would separate the water completely and sort of create a tunnel-like separation, right? But you can't do it. We don't have the technology today, and therefore he says v'dilma tzarach ve'en le'takana. You need it, but you can't have it, and since you can't have it, there is no takana. Right? Who says the Bryce is saying therefore you can carry? Maybe the Bryce is saying you can't carry because what you need to carry is not existent in our time, in our generation. We don't have that ability because we don't have a metal wall will still not do it. So maybe that's what the Bryce means. In which case, it's still very legit. So what's all the negativity? He says Ella. The answer is mishum dekal hu shekil chacham. Okay, the answer is that we're dealing with water, and for you to be machim by water goes against the fundamental principle that when it comes to water is the one area that we're very makel. We want to have the Jewish people access water. We don't want to limit water to them. We want to have it more accessible. And we've already said that when it comes to water, we have leniencies that are in place to allow people to take water. El mishum dekalhu shekilu chamamayim keder tavla. Okay, just like Rav Tavla said, the boy Minei Rav Tavla, Rav Tavla asked the Shaila from Rav, Mechitza Tluya, we also had this earlier, a couple of times. Can a hanging wall matter carrying in a churva? You had a destruction, a earthquake-ridden area, and it's all abandoned. But you have a place you want to carry in, one of these abandoned buildings, and you've got the bottom is chopped out, and broken, and you have a hanging wall. Can the hanging wall come straight down and serve as a valid wall to allow you to carry in that area? And Amalei and Rav answered back to Rav Tavla, "Ein mechitza tzluya materis el b'mayim." Okay, a hanging mechitza only works when it comes to water. So the answer is no. You cannot carry in the churva because we're not talking about a body of water. We're talking about just abandoned building, and that's not good. So why? Because kalu shekilu chamamayim. It's the leniency that the chum came up with when it came to water. The chum were lenient. So you see, that's why I don't like it. The idea that we would not allow a metal, even reeds, forget the metal. I don't see what you're trying to say. If you're trying to say you need metal and you don't have metal separation and therefore you can't carry, that seems to go against a fundamental principle that we're always looking for leniencies when it comes to water. So, thumbs down on this brisa. Okay, let's go back to the Rashi now. Okay, so let's tread carefully because it looks like we got a girsa issue. Okay, and so this is how the Gemara reads the way Rashi has it. Okay, what's that little bays? Okay, yeah, that's Shach Ladaf Aleph. Okay, so if you didn't like it and you made that smiley face because it was the Brisa learned like Rabbi Yochanan Nuri and L'chum Reviu L'kula, and he happens to be a Mekeldika person, Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, and that was why he didn't like the Brisa. Umishum Nisrile L'kula Koltani L'chum M'chaychala. What bitniya is as a wonderment? Inei Mishum the Rabbi Chia Tani L'masis and Rabbi Yochanan Nuri Dama Chafsi Hefke Kan Shvisa. If the whole negativity was based on the fact that this Brisa learns like Rabbi Yochanan Nuri that hefker items are kind of shvisa, Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina Srila Karbanon L'Kula Damre ain't kind of shvisa, very correctly Kol Adam, right? And you happen to be a Rabbanan man who say that no, it's like anybody who picks it up, and there is no tchum. There are no limitations to the water. So because of that, you make a negative kind of feel to this whole situation. You put down the brisa and you make it seem like it's not authoritative. It's not. Why? So maybe it's because mechitza shel barzel nami ayla b'maya. I don't understand that. What's this mechitza shel barzel going to do if reeds are no good because water's going to get in? Water's going to get in by the metal too. Mitasai from the bottom. Dostam mechitza yutfachim. A typical mechitza is 10 tfachim. Well, machat kakar. Sometimes it's not going to reach till the bottom. You're not making some fancy wall that mamish goes down to the floor and is airtight and watertight. I feel magasa karkosam. I mean, even if you do make it down to the ground, right? You know what? Everyone wonders how you actually. I always wonder how you make these tunnels and going through a lake or something. But the bottom line is they didn't have any ability where underneath the water couldn't at least seep through. It's going to seep through, even if you stick a metal thing there. It isn't. They didn't dig the whole thing up and create this whole fancy gadgetry. So it didn't happen. So the mice of water's going to get. If water's going to get in, then I don't see what you accomplished. I'll tell you why he sort of mocked the brisa and didn't like it, because of this reason, of the last reason. So you're not that much Rashi's here in this whole. So you're pretty much at the end of the line. The kalhu shekilu chamayim. Because we have a rule and a perspective that you're always makel when it comes to water. The mechitza koldahu. All you need is any type of a wall to serve as a separation. Uvat shei bayud. As long as it has 10 tfachim. Mahanyaba. You have the ayaba maya miloy mitzah. Even though the water is going to go in and out from one side and the other, doesn't bother me. The whole thing is
down or 10 tfachim wide or 12.
Well, you need 4 tfachim wide and 10 tfachim high. Right, correct. So, so you need something of substance, but it's not going to be watertight and airtight. So enachami. So that's the point, and that's why I don't like the brisa. There's no way this brisa is authoritative when it's creating a chumrah of mayin that we don't really embrace. Even though I don't think those other cases we're talking about tchumen, it was talking about carrying, I believe, over there, and but lamaisa, I mean rabbinically, not midaraisa, but still, it doesn't make sense to Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina that we should be machmi here all of a sudden by tchum when we normally make it by mayu. Okay, ready to go weiter. Back to the Gemara, 2 dots. The Chachamim say ein loy el arba. Right. So remember, we had the sleeping guy. So we had a machlokas about what he has and what he doesn't have. So the Chacham said he has only 4 amis. He was not awake when Shabbos hit, and therefore you snooze, you lose, and therefore you're stuck. While Rabbi Yehuda came along and said, then Rabbi Lazar added, he's in the middle of the 4 amis. The Rabbi Yehuda added, no, he's got 4 amis in any direction. So it sounds like Rabbi Yehuda is going back to the Chacham and agreeing with the Chacham. So who needs another opinion when the opinion after Rabbi Lazar seems to be exactly the same opinion as the one before Rabbi Lazar? So Gemara then therefore asks Rabbi Yehuda, Haina Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda and the Tanakama. Oops. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's go back. I skipped the Rashi. Kidamoy Rav Tavla. Okay, like Rav Tavla asked the Shaila to Rav. Okay, the third narrow line. Okay, the Rav Tavla asked the Shaila to Rav. And therefore, just like any hanging mechitza works in the water, if there'd be no reason why you need a metal separation, a separation of reeds should also help. The mali ma'arvi maya mitasoy mali ma'arvi ben kanol chaver. Who cares whether it's the bottom that the water's going to get in or whether it's in between the reeds? It's the same thing. Let's just do that next Rashi because we did the Gemara already. So I don't understand how there's any difference. The Gemara now wants to know between Rabbi Yehuda and the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda de Omar leizurach shiir tzei shadal alamis hana Tanakama. Okay, Rabban de Pliga led Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So that's exactly the same as the Tanakama who argued Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and said you don't have 2,000 amas, you're limited to Dalan amas. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda and says you go to 4 amas, any direction. That's exactly the same position. So what exactly is the difference? So let's go back to the Gemara now, and the Gemara says, I'll tell you what the difference is. Amar Rava Shmeina al Shmeina ikabinai. The difference is, do you have 4x4? Or do you have 8x8? Are you able to go 4 amas in each direction and go back and forth? Or are you stuck wherever you pick 4 amas? You're stuck at that 4 amas. You have an 8 amas square or a 4 amas square. Okay. Tanya Nam Yahach. I'll bring you a brisa that supports this assertion that this is the machlokas between the Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda. Tanya Nam Yahach. Yesha Shmoina al Shmona. Divrei Rav Meir. Rav Meir says you have 8x8, which is Rav Meir L'chor represents the Chachamim. Okay, and Rabbi Yehuda says what he says, which is no, you pick 4, you pick one direction, and you're stuck in that direction, and that becomes your 4x4. And you can't just go back and now go in the other direction. Okay, let's see here. Let's do the Rashi. Hainu, we did that. The difference is 8x8 versus 4x4. The Rabbanan Savrei, the Rabbanan hold Dalad l'chol tzadav. Okay, that you can go 4 in any direction you want, and that you're not in the middle of the circle. Okay, you're at the edge, and we're giving you to in any direction you want. You can go 4. So if you go 4 this way, 4 that way, that brings you to 8. Hainu Shemaina al Shmona, which ends up as a square of 8x8. Rabbi Yehuda Savar l'chadruach v'sulo. Rabbi Yehuda says you pick one direction and that's it. K'nektani umod Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Lazar, as the Mishnah said. Rabbi Yehuda admits to Rabbi Eliezer Shembir lo shtayim lekan u'shtayim lekan. If you choose 2 in this direction and 2 in that direction, shein yochel lachzaboy. You can't change that. That became your 4 amas. Or if you picked 4 to any one side. So bottom line, at the end of the day, you're going to end up with 4. So you can split the 4. You go 2 east and 2 west, and that could be a 4. Or you can go 4 west. However you want to do it. But you can't have more than 4. Well, according to the Tanakama, you can have 4 in each direction. According to the Chachamim, you can have 4 in each direction, which nets you 8. Okay. So Vyoma Rava, let's go back to the Gemara, and Rava further adds, Machlokes lahalech. The whole machlokes about 4 or 8 is only when it comes to walking. It's a tchum machlokes. Okay, that can you walk 4 by 4 more or 8 by 8 more? That's a shaila. Avlataltel, when it comes to moving items and now carrying within the area that you're stuck in, which would apply to Rishus Ram as well. Right? If you see, I don't know, some diamond ring that you see sitting on the floor on Shabbos on Wilshire Boulevard, and now you want to maybe move it a little bit, you have 4 by 4, but there's no machlokas in that case. Is it 4 by 4 or is it 8 by 8? Okay, so machlokas is lahalich. Avlotaltel divra kol arba amos in tfeiloi. But everyone's going to say all you have is 4 amos, but you don't have more than 4 amos. Okay, look at Rashi. Machlokes to Rav Meir the Shari Shmoin al Shmona lihiloch. The machlokes that has Rav Meir allowing 8 by 8 is for walking. Rabbi Yehuda mitzum samos. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's limited and specific to it's very tight. You have 4 by 4 and that's it. Rav Meir gedolos. According to Rav Meir, no, you have a very generous 4 by 4, which is really 8 by 8. The Pishut Yadayim Raglayim Yosem Amuhu. Okay, it looks like that's weiter. That's weiter. Okay, because we're going to learn how. Now we're going to discuss how you measure the 4 by 4. So that's a different issue. Okay, so let's proceed. Back to the Gemara. Vahani Dal Amas Heichik Siva. And where is this 4 amas come from? This limitation of 4 amas that you just said when it comes to carrying, obviously in Rabbi Yehuda it applies to the Tchum as well. Where does it come from that you came up with this idea of Dalan amas? Kedatanya. I'll tell you where it came from. It came from this brisa, a brisa that Shvu Ish Tachtov. That's a pasuk in Shemais. Okay, so Kedatanya Shvu Ish Tachtov. Okay, that when the Jews went out, certain Jews went out on Shabbos to collect the mun, right? And Moshe was not a happy camper and blasted them. And he said basically each one's got to stay right where you are. You walked out of the Tchum in order to pick up the mun, but that was a no-no. And now that you walked out of the Tchum, you're stuck. Okay, stay where you are. Shu ish tachtav. Each one dwells right underneath where he is. Okay, so you're kind of your place, and you can't move any further. Okay, so we learn from there kitachtav that the place you have to maneuver is the place that's like underneath you. You have you to determine how far you can go. V'kamatachtav, what's called underneath you? Gufa sholosh amas. Your body represents 3 amas. V'yama kadei lifshot yodav raglov, and you got 1 amma to stretch. So 3 amas is your body, okay, and another amma is for your stretching here, there, and everywhere, and that gives you 4 amas. Dear Rav Meir, this is our good friend Rav Meir says that's how you determine the 4 amas. Shvu ish tachtov. Rabbi Yehuda says no, I agree with your pasuk, but I don't agree with your methodology. Rabbi Yehuda gufa sholosh amas. Your body is 3 amas. V'ama k'dei shito chayfetz mitachas margalosov. Umeniach tachas mershosov, and another amma in order to take something underneath your feet and place them underneath your head. I guess you might want to take a nap or something because you might have to move, so you need a little bit of movement.